Hey, you're tuned in to Live at 5. And before we jump into today's guest, I just want to remind you that this show is only possible because of the generosity and support of amazing people like you. Continue to support us by subscribing to this YouTube channel, clicking the link to donations and merchandise in the bio below, and by spreading the word about our shows. Thanks again, and enjoy.
Can't hear your audio.
Oh, you can't hear my audio?
No.
You want me to turn on original sound?
I think it might be me. Anyway, we're just going to bounce to this teaser while we fix this audio issue.
Okay, we are back, and I think you can probably hear me now. The gremlins in the system didn't want you to hear my jokes, but we've persevered, and now they're ready to go. How are you, Darcy? Darcy's there sweating on the end of the line, fixing everything. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had this, I just wanted to tell you, and I it's so different not being in the room, but I just want you to know that I smell incredible.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing because even though we're not in the same room, I can tell because I can smell it all the way from Clapton.
You can smell, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I got this new soap and it's just amazing. And actually, the smelling thing reminds me of Eddie Barbash went hiking in the Appalachian Trail. He did the Appalachian Trail for 6 months with his fiance. And he told me this story about, because I have, he told me this story about, how many showers they didn't take, right? Because they would basically stop and, they would sleep anywhere. And, they did it. It was amazing. And he had his penny whistle the whole time. He practiced the whole time. It was so cool. But he said he never understood the human sense of smell until he was on the trail. And he said you could smell a day hiker before you saw them because you could smell the detergent on their clothes.
Wow.
He could see, he could smell that he went total Bear Grylls like survival mode. he could like smell, he could. Is that a human coming?
Is that Tide?
So we'll have to ask him that next time we have him on the show.
So who have we got on today?
I was just going to say that's not important right now because we have a great friend of mine and an amazing drummer and percussionist and person in general, Mr. Pedro Segundo, joining us from New York. Pedro, are you there?
Hello.
He's there.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I think we didn't have any problem because Amy was watching the teaser. So the teaser was going. So I think all went well, I think.
Well, there we go. We got away with it.
You got away? Yes. I'm good, Giacomo. Thanks so much for this. I was telling Darcy, it's my joy to have an hour with you, Giacomo, because these days it's impossible. Quality time, unless we make an effort.
Unless we make an effort, it's true. And we've done so much together, we've lived so many years together and grown so much together, in London. And it's fun to remember some of the things that have happened, from packing drums into cabs, and it doesn't sound fun, but it was hilarious, when it was happening. But I was just thinking of the first time I met you, and it was at Ronnie's, and you had been playing, and you must have been 21 at that point, right?
Yeah.
21, and you were playing, and I saw you play, and I said, man, this guy is incredible. And I remember thinking, I think it took me a lot of courage, a couple of times of seeing you play, to go up to you and say, hey man, you sound really great, maybe we could play together. And I remember you were totally cool about it. You were like, yeah man, let's play, let's do it. And I was like, yes, let's do it. And then I got scared again, and I went back.
I remember that moment really, really well, actually.
Who were you supporting that day? Because you played, when you were at Ronnie's, how many years did you do at Ronnie's?
So for those that don't know, I became the house drummer in 2010, which is a very amazing opportunity to fill in the shoes of the great Chris Dagley, which was a house drummer that sadly passed away. So I was in my last year of Guildhall School when I got the call from James, hey, do you want to do 2 nights this week? And I was like, great. And we can come up to that later. How does that work for youngsters that might be listening? But I just said yes, and then I just basically did 7 nights a week for the following 2, 3, 4 years. So basically that's how I met you, because I was there maybe supporting. I don't know.
Well, man, you did so many. The people that you met through that. That just the amount of kind of positive energy that you kind of absorbed there. Who name some of the names that people would know that you supported there? It was.
I supported Wynton Marsalis. I have good memories of supporting Wynton for a week, and that was a life-changing experience. I remember so well watching, supporting Kurt Elling. Who else? Let me just see. There's so many people from all genres as well. It's not just jazz and jazz orientated, but I think I would say Wynton was one of the best memories I have of supporting.
Right. The one that I love that you did was Bernard Purdie. I just think that's so cool that you have.
Thank you. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I forgot that. How could I forget that? Yes.
So many. Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Funnily enough, I was so in awe. For those of you think, oh, he's the house drummer, so he should be, so kind of comfortable on his own skin. But I took every second so seriously in terms of the opportunity to absorb all the masters. Even though I was opening the house for everyone in a way that I had to deliver quality playing, I was yet so interested in what the main act could bring me in terms of understanding and evolution. So Bernard Purdie was there, and I was hanging with Bernard Purdie. And I was like, I was so I'm never, you know me well enough. I'm not a very drum geek when it comes to drums and cymbals. I care about the music.
Yeah, man.
And
yeah.
I have to confess my guilty pleasure. I went to his toms, and with my ears, I tried to know each note tuned to what. And put on my phone, Bernard Purdy, and I'm a classical player, so I go like a timpani. Is there a relation there? It has to be a perfect fourth or diminished. What is that makes Bernard Purdy funky?
Yeah.
That was a great. I appreciate you remember that.
Yeah. That was just one of the ones that stood out for me. It's just, I mean, what an opportunity just to soak that up, and what a character as well.
Character. Really
so that Winton gig is a funny one, because I was at that was the year I moved to London. I'll tell you a funny story about that, which I think we were friends by that point for sure.
Yeah.
But I knew Jonathan Batiste, who was playing piano that week with Winton. You remember that?
It was the week he was invited to be the guest with them.
Yeah, he was playing piano, and I knew him. So I had called him up, and we were hanging out, a little bit beforehand, and I didn't have a ticket for the show, and I was trying to get, I didn't know anybody at Ronnie's yet, whatever. So I remember I was hanging out with them in the green room downstairs. You remember the green room downstairs at Ronnie's, and I walked up with them as they were walking into the house, and Winton was already backstage. But this club is sold out, and I've just kind of wheedled my way into the green room to hang out with John. I'm just hanging out with my friend, whatever. And Nick Lewis doesn't know this, by the way, Darcy, so never tell him, because it would be tremendously embarrassing. But they walked in a line, and I walked in as if I was a member of the band, because I had my work clothes on. I had like a shirt and a tie and whatever. So I walked in, of course, there was no doubt. But anyway, so I walked in, and I managed to get right through. And when they went on stage, I just turned left, and I walked up the side. I walked up the side behind, where the seats are in Ronnie's, and I lay down, hid behind the back row of seats until the lights went down. And I watched the whole
to do that.
I mean, I did it. I'm not proud of it, but it happened. So yeah. Next time I see Winton, I'll tell him that I snuck into his gig, didn't buy a ticket. We have loads of music from Pedro to dig into. So Darcy, let's jump into a track, and then we can talk about it later. I think I want to hear another one of the Segundo Stanley tracks, if you have one of those from Lisbon, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Live at 5. That was Pedro Segundo and Ross Stanley, live from Lisbon. In what year, Ped? When was that? Was that
Just
a year
last
ago?
year.
Last year ago,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Last year. Okay.
It was our big gig in Lisbon's CCB, the cultural center over there. So it was big for us.
Amazing, amazing. So what's that song? That's an original of yours. What's the kind of genesis of that?
Senhor do Cais was basically all started with a very simple melody on the melodic, as you could hear, and basically was just a memory to my years in Lisbon and how sometimes that's why I say the live album that I recorded. I recorded this on the live album at Kansas Smitty's when we first had the first Hammond organ ever
Oh man.
in that basement, and basically to show how sometimes it's not about the complexity of the music notes wise. It's just a simple idea and have a full intended heart into that melody, and make it sing out the best way as possible. And the very rooted influence of the drum, the traditional drum from Portugal, but it goes beyond that. It's just a nice sort of mantra song that at least takes me back to the memories of being in Bairro Alto, an old region in Lisbon which you were there.
Yeah, I was there
in January,
yeah,
just now.
exactly.
So those were the streets that inspired me to deliver that song out as an original. And also it's good for me to embrace the composition side, because I've been very shy of putting it out, and I believe there is a big window and big next step for me into accepting that I can actually put the composition out and be proud about it.
Yeah, I think it's funny, writing music it offers a whole different dimension of fulfillment as a musician, because if you play other people's music, you always focus on the minute aspects of the technicalities. Oh, did I play that note correctly, or did I play that right, or I don't deliver this part of the piece as well as so and so does, or so and so plays the clarinet concerto or whatever better than me. But if it's your piece of music, then you feel like you can play it with a different degree of honesty. It's yours,
Yeah.
There's I love that song. I remember it from the gigs that you did at Smitty's with Ross, which were some of the best gigs I think we've ever had down there. I mean, you say it was the first Hammond organ at Smitty's. I mean, there was a reason for that, because if you put a Hammond organ in Smitty's, you can't put anybody else in Smitty's, so it's like half the room. No, but it was
packed. Remember?
Packed. I know. It was
1st of March of 2017 when we recorded it.
Wow.
The vibe was great. So if everyone has a chance to listen to it, is on Bandcamp on my website. Just go through the tracks, and it's you can really feel the atmosphere. I think the people really made a difference to that be a success, because everyone wanted to be there. Really, everyone wanted to be there and have a good time. And how the Hammond, and I must say, Ross Stanley can elevate anything he's on. And the fact that we got this opportunity that came out of just one of those Kansas Smitty situations where, Giacomo telling me, Pedro, why don't you bring Ross for one night? And it's really, it's like, how do you do that? So then we managed to just, let's go for it. And then with much or little preparation, we just brought where we knew we were comfortable doing. And more importantly, we had a very good dinner before the show.
Where did you go? You go for tapas?
We went El Ganso.
Yeah. I love it. Like Pedro is like the Don of Broadway market, because he just walks. It's like a mafia protection scheme. He just walks around and he just waves to people, and it's like when you wave to someone, it's like I'll be there to collect later. He goes to El Ganso, and the guy is practically kissing your hand, which is just, I love it. I just love that moment.
It's community. I love it. It's great. And that's what I miss about you guys in London. And by the way, I haven't left London 100%. I'm in New York, but my dynamic is between these both places right now. But London, I love when I come back, and I always check in on my favorite places to make sure they are all right. And that's for me what music is about. Take care of the fundamentals. Eat well, your community, check on them, and then everything else is just much easier to come across, because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Food is everything to me, and having a good time. And that's how that night was a success, because me and Ross, we had a great meal. And that's the first thing first thing I said before eating was like, wow, that was a great meal. We're still full. And I remember you saying to me, are you ready, Pedro? Are you ready? I am. I'm full. I'm so.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, so what kind of, I mean, you're I was just going to say about New York, we're talking about some funny thing to do with that headwear that we're gonna touch on. But you're a bona fide citizen of the world. You've been traveling everywhere, and you've been all over the States and Australia, and what have you enjoyed the most musically? What kind of musical insightful experiences have you had in New Orleans or other places or whatever, since you've been traveling so much?
I love it. Thank you for that question. I have to say to everyone listening, be careful what you wish for, because I remember from the first minute I stepped into London ground in 2007, I took it so seriously in terms of every second counts here, because it's expensive. You are not in your own first language. So there's a lot of hard work you have to make in order to achieve some sort of success. And one thing I remember writing is, I want to make music in every corners of the world. And I said that really strongly to myself. I kind of put it down and wrote it. And suddenly I see things happening for me, And can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
I can see things happening slowly. And it's only a result of what you put in your head and in your heart. It does become reality. So coming to concrete examples of that is that the Dennis Rollins gig came when I was 19. I was in my third year at Guildhall.
Now, if people don't know who Dennis Rollins is, he's a great trombone player in London, and he has a trio called the Velocity Trio that's Hammond organ and drums and trombone. So just to put it in context.
And it's the main reason that we have the duo is because we have the mileage. Me and Ross have the mileage. And Dennis, I must say, is my mentor in a way that he always pushing me to write your stuff, register your stuff, go to PRS, MCPS, and register that stuff. And I'm now only doing that now because now I have actually time to be at the computer, because I'm quite alien to computers, because I love real reality. I love real people a lot. And so basically, Dennis Rollins vouched for my talent. And then, but as far as the world, I first went out on the road with Carmen Souza from the World Music.
Of course, right. Right. Yeah.
I sometimes forget. I have to go read the interviews because I forget what I've done. So did that, and then start touring with. I did the first Rochester Jazz Festival, upstate New York, with Dennis Rollins, and then with the Ronnie Scott's All Stars. And then the classical world adventure started when I was third year at Guildhall School. Fourth year, start Ronnie Scott's house band. 3 years after that, 2012, my very good, my reference of timpani playing, someone that trusted me to depth for him in a tour, was with the Camden St. Martin Fields. I did timpani, classical timpani with Murray Pariah, Joshua Bell, touring Europe. And that was like, wow, this is exactly what I wanted. I want to not stop playing classical music. I want to play all those things to enrich me as a musician. And also I can give something back, because I know I have something to give,
Yeah.
So it all started then. And then one thing's pushed to the other. And then I was starting with you after that meeting at Ronnie Scott's. Man, I have recordings of us playing in the kitchen. We could just do a series, just all my iPhone recordings.
That would be great. But my favorite gig from that period was when and this brings us back to Broadway Market. I mean, that whole area around there, it's amazing that the bar ended up there, because actually we were hanging out around there for years before. You remember we played at that Arch. And then we played at, that was one of the first gigs that we did together. And that was the day that I met Jack Abraham, was with you, Wow. And you were playing the wall with the stick. You were playing the wall of an arch, It was just like, people were like, who is this guy? This is incredible. And then I remember, and this was my favorite one, was that we did a gig at Stories, and I called you, and I hadn't booked anyone to do it. And I said, well, Pedro, can you come do it? And he said, yeah, but I don't have any drums. My drums are in storage. I said, well, we'll figure something out. Just bring your sticks. And we went to the kitchen, and we literally, it was like home shopping network. It was like, oh, you want, we just pointed to the pots that we wanted, and we said, oh, we'll have that one, that one, that one. It was a mixing bowl, a whisk, and a stock pot. And Pedro was like, yeah, I'll make music with that. And we played three 45-minute sets,
3 45 minute set. And you know how it works? It's when we had all the children, like the 3 4 5 year olds dancing in front of you. They
Yeah.
were, they cannot lie. They were on their feet.
Yeah, man, they were
It
grooving.
was great. Yeah.
So this is a perfect time, I think, to jump into one of Pedro's solo performances, Darce. Play one of those, and then we can talk about it afterwards. But before we do that, we are live at 5 with Pedro Segundo. We so appreciate you tuning in. Please remember to subscribe to this channel and to click on the link in the bio below. But don't do that until after we're done today, because this is a great one. This is Pedro Segundo solo. You got me? We're live at 5. And we're live. Pedro, tell us a little bit about that solo performance.
I can tell you. So basically, it was. Let me put you back on. Okay. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Great.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I wanted to have you on big screen, but it's fine. Show the speaker. So that was just an improvisation this morning here in the flat, and I was like, how can I? It's so important to not be disheartened by all these crises we're going through, and I have no drum kit per se, so I had to just improvise, and I had in my mind a sort of a caravan vibe, and then I had that sort of swing feel in the middle, and then I add a little bit of a second line feel, and then ragtime feel. So basically trying to bring all these different feels that I think we should always be working on, you know.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah, so
wonderful.
that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had a request from Robin
Yeah.
to Robin Katz, who was on the show last week. And now Ped, do you remember this? Do you remember the gig we played at Robin's dad's house? Where you came, and I know how long ago this was. This is crazy because you had just, I remember texting with you saying, come play this gig at my friend's dad's house. It's going to be fun. We're going to play some guitar and clarinet and stuff. And I remember you saying, I just got a phone with maps on it. because before we had the little, the drug phones, the burners.
The Nokia, the
Yeah, the
3210.
Nokia, the one that actually had battery life that lasted for a week. I mean, I miss that now. I really do. And you said, "Oh, don't worry, you don't have to tell me directions. I'll just put the address in my maps." And I remember thinking, "Wow, that's amazing." And once again,
How did I afford that? I don't know.
and I remember you showed up and we played, and you played a silver tray, right? That everybody was really impressed about you playing the silver tray, except for Robin's mom, because
Oh my God.
she was like, he's playing the silver tray.
Like grandma's from 1830. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, for Robin, maybe you can play this.
Okay.
The what is it? A hang drum?
Hang drum, yeah, handpan. I
Handpan.
want to just try to have the thing because my video is very small now, but I can still do it. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. All right, Robin, this is for you.
Let's call this sonata for cats.
Sonata for I can definitely do that. All right, a little piece for you. Enjoy. Can you see? Okay.
Yeah, beautiful.
Cool. All right.
I love it. I love it.
This instrument started not as a long time ago as people might think. It's actually from the year 2000. Started as the hang in Switzerland, and people like Manu Delago was a colleague of mine at the Guildhall School. He's the guy that really brought it to mainstream with the then young YouTube platform.
Wow, right.
So basically, I was just there when it was all unfolding, and it was so beautiful to see how. And I have a lot of respect for people that are good at grabbing the moment and taking a platform to its full potential, which I never did yet.
Yeah.
But because I've been exploring the craft in real rooms for real people in a very small environment without the kind of internet potential.
Right.
But it's to be explored. But Manu Delago started it, and then people all around the world started thinking, God, I really want to start making these things. So this guy is called Nirvana Handpans. He's called Jay Terrence, and he's in LA. And I got in touch with him 2 years ago when I was visiting Amy in LA and Judith working in LA with Judith. I should have mentioned as well earlier that Judith Owen has been one of the main reasons of touring the world as well, playing their music. So, but Handpan is basically the extension of the hang in Switzerland. So
well, it's interesting because it sounds a little bit like a clay drum, but it's aluminum, isn't it?
Yes, this is stainless steel.
Steel,
But
okay.
it's funny you say that. Do you know what? Can you wait 2 seconds?
Yeah. We're just on hold right now with Pedro Segundo, who is one of the foremost percussionists in the UK. He's just told us to wait for a second.
All right. So this is the the udu you're talking about, made of aluminium. So this is, sounds like,
Right.
so it's probably is a mixture of that and sorry, the audio just stopped.
No. It's amazing.
Yeah, so that's it. Yeah,
So that's more of a kind of a simulated clay drum.
that's a simulated. That's the clay drum made for touring, so it doesn't break because
Right.
it's made of aluminium. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's so inspiring. It's great.
So for people who don't know that sound, if you're not a percussionist, it's often used in Indian classical music, isn't that right?
Yes, and £5 for you. Just
I'll take it. Do you ship internationally? Can I get it on Amazon?
well, let's wait for the pandemic to finish.
Okay, deal. I think we have one more video of Pedro playing. Is that true? Cool. So we'll jump into this and
Also, I would like to. There's a question someone asked, and let's make sure we cover that. Is about what repertoire I developed while being at Ronnie Scott's. Let's remember that.
great idea. Cool. So this is another solo from Pedro Segundo. Nope. He can see me. We're back live at 5. And that was Pedro Segundo with another solo improvisation. So Pedro, I know you're in New York right now, and as an American, I know
You
what
are
kind of I know what kind of risk you're taking wearing that hat
Why?
out to the streets. But people can't quite see because it's one of my hats. But if you turn it around,
What? Oh, you mean that?
uh-huh.
What does that mean?
That is the that
B
is a
for
symbol.
Battersea.
Yeah, B for Battersea. That
You
is
know
it. That's a symbol of the mortal enemy of New York City citizens,
It's
the Boston Red Sox, which were the first pandemic to plague the New York City citizens. But I'm so glad that you're wearing that.
It's so fun you mentioned that on the hat because I didn't notice this until Amy, we were walking on the street and she was like, "Honey, you really taking a risk here." And I said, "Why? It's a red hat. What's the problem? You know, it's really nice. I like it. It's comfortable, and I think it's Giacomo, so it's cool. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
it has some good.
don't wear it tomorrow, please, because last time I worn it, people spit on me."
Well, it's amazing.
So,
You're very brave. You're a very brave man.
Yeah.
So you were going to reference a question from before about you were going to reference a question from before that about your repertoire when you were working at Ronnie Scott's. You know,
Yeah.
how did that develop?
Someone asked a friend to address that, and I think it's really important because that also connects to the Kansas Smitty's sound, early sound. Because for those of you listening, I no longer play with the Kansas Smitty's house band, even though I'm very well in touch and love them. And also important to know how to pass on as well. People get sometimes too hanging to their jobs. Is my band and I should never leave, but it's important to let things flow because you cannot be at two places at the same time.
Yeah.
Sadly, you cannot. So the best lesson for me with Kansas was how to be able to understand when is your time to pass it on. It's with no hard feelings. So when
Yeah.
I was in Ronnie Scott's was a great school of piano trio. So
Right.
I really developed a beautiful sound. Well, not the beautiful sound. I developed a research into the beautiful sound of Oscar Peterson, Errol Garner, Hamad Jamal, and also, and I must say here how much classical music helped me being a better drummer because it's all about chamber music. After all, it's about
Mm.
blending your sounds to the surrounding musicians more than yourself. So for me to play every night for an hour, and then of course I would stay to the late show, as you know, we would hang out until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning
Man.
because that's the
Espresso
whole
martinis.
espresso martinis on the go.
hiding behind seats.
There's no shortcut. There's no shortcut for learning this music, and I'm no one entitled to say this because I'm in New York, especially. There's so many people that are more entitled than myself. But I know I've done my homework and I know what I
Mm.
like. And
Mm.
I had a journal about who is Bill Evans' drummers, how many of them, and who was a very important figure in drumming before Philly Joe Jones. Because when I say Joe Jones, it's not Philly Joe Jones. I talk
Mm.
about Papa Joe Jones. All
Mm.
right. So go chart on those guys. So that was my school of playing when I was in Ronnie's. A lot of piano trio. So I really developed that sound and also how to explore the potential of the brushes. How can you
Right.
have intensity with the brushes before you move them to the sticks? It's
Mm.
like Adrian Banding, the timpani player I mentioned earlier, or at some point, he has this sonata form for sticks for the timpanis in symphonies. I apply that to jazz playing as well, which is you have to have a sonata form of how to explore from your hands because I see a lot of drummers not using their hands. I don't know why.
You mean when you're taking a solo?
Taking
You
a
mean
solo,
like you have this arc of kind of a composition,
yeah,
right? Okay.
solo, and also the tune in itself because you have A, like sonata form, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You're
Isn't
so
it?
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you have the AABA for the first chorus, and then AABA for the second, and it's up to you to develop that sound so it doesn't become monotonous. Yeah.
Well, exactly. I think that's, I'm a big believer in, in emphasizing and reinforcing the form of a song, the form of a piece of music, even if it has improvised elements. It doesn't mean that you can't improvise within a bigger structure. And that bigger structure is something that I always think about for people who say, oh, I'm not really a jazz fan, I don't get jazz, it's too clever for me. Or I always think if you understand the form of a piece, or if you're made to understand the form of a piece by somebody like yourself that kind of understands this kind of macro structure of building a whole piece of music, it's going to be so much more fun to listen to. And case in point, I mean, night after night when I used to listen to you play at Ronnie's, and then obviously when we played together, I just watched that whole thing develop. It's a very captivating way to give people jazz music, I
And
think.
one more thing, this is like the new Zoom rule: you put your finger in the air, right? And so basic, also very important to. I was very lucky to be in that position, but I don't believe it was just luck. It was a result of investing my own time and sleepless nights going out and
Mm,
show yourself.
yeah.
Be there. Be there. You cannot do it from home. Now it's a good time to do all you can from home because you really cannot go out. but pay your dues by going out, and also learn how to listen to the audience, how to know your audience. Like Adrian Cox said yesterday on the interview, learn who is your audience and how to connect with them. Don't isolate yourself when you're performing, because it's entertainment in a good way. You are making people have a good time. Just like with the Segundo Stanley album at Kansas, I was there because I want everyone for 2 hours to forget about the Lent. It was about Lent term, right? What I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you did a joke, now you can have a fun, no more like,
right, all that. Yeah,
so you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's all about those 2 hours that people decide to be with you. You need to make sure they have a good time. So do your homework, understand your craft. Craft is not music. Craft is when you work on your stuff in order to then use it with the musicians with you. But Ronnie Scott was an amazing platform for me to know myself, know what I want, know what I don't want, and how that connected to Kansas Smitty was. Then you came to me and said, "I'm really into this stuff," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know that stuff at all. I
All
don't know.
right. Wow.
I knew
Okay.
Muscat Ramble and all those
Yeah.
Kansas City sound. I was like, I don't know about this. Let's
Yeah.
explore that,
Yeah.
and it was an amazing journey."
Well, Pedro Segundo, if I could, I would give you a very long hug and maybe even a kiss. But there are many miles between us and many rules preventing it. So you've gotten out of it this time.
Yeah.
Our record of the day, which will appear to my side at any moment, is Unity by Larry Young. Is it here? It's right there. And it's a nod to Pedro and Ross's Hammond and drums exploration, because you have Larry Young on organ and you have Elvin Jones on drums. Incredible record. But in addition to that, please go and listen to Pedro's album. It's on Bandcamp via his website, pedrosegundo.com. And it's also, I believe, on Spotify. It's called Segundo Stanley. It's right?
It's actually not yet on Spotify, but I am finally, because I'm staying home, I'm going to decide and maybe release just a single of God Only Knows, and then put it,
Perfect.
you know what I mean?
Man.
As you know, we are all improving every day. I'm trying to be better at it, and I'm going to try to be better at putting on Spotify.
Perfect. Well, in the meantime, check it out on Bandcamp, and God Only Knows is it's a beautiful rendition of that track. So thank you so much, Pedro. Thank you to Darcy O'Connor, and thank you to all of you for tuning in to Live at 5. We'll be back tomorrow night with Bastien Brisson from Paris, and we hope to see you there. So thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to subscribe and click in the link below. Have a great night. See ya.
Miss you so much, guys. See you soon.
Yeah,
Take
man.
care.
Thanks again for listening to Live at 5. Remember to subscribe to this channel and click on the link in the description to see where you can donate, sign up for a Smitty's membership, or buy our records and merch. See you tomorrow. Thanks again.